Hello, YouTube, and welcome to The Real Siberius. In this episode, I wanted to talk about the 2020 bubble chip. The reason why I want to talk about it is a number of the content creators that I support have all made videos on it. Uncommon Sense, Sports and Fitness Rants, Uncut Hoops, and a few others. And so I just wanted to add my personal thoughts, my personal takes, just because it seems to be a point of interest at the moment. So I think there's a few things that really stand out to me about the 2020 bubble. First and foremost, I did not start trying to watch the NBA again until 2020. From when Jordan retired to 2020, I didn't really watch. I didn't pay attention. And one thing that I can say is when I finally turned on a game, I had genuinely thought that they had put COVID restrictions in place to limit contact between players. That's how open and uncontested and just the sheer lack of defense was. I thought they had put in restrictions about players couldn't be within 6 feet of each other. And then I was told that that wasn't the case. I didn't know that they had got rid of hand checking. I didn't know that they added the 3-second rule. And I almost immediately stopped watching again. It felt like such a pathetic, disgusting sham of the game that I loved for decades. And it just had become this joke. And then, in the midst of the pandemic, the NBA season got shut down, which I completely agreed with. When they resumed, I didn't agree with it. I thought it was a terrible idea. I thought, you know what, you just sacrifice this season. You come back, when the pandemic is under more control and resume as usual, because you can't have a shortened season and expect it to count. In my personal opinion, any of the shortened seasons don't count. Players are getting extra rest, which is hugely advantageous for them. I was going to say they get time to adjust their mental game, to adjust their physical game, to rest their body, to heal from injuries. It's not the same. So I don't care who would have won the 2020 ring. It would always have an asterisk next to it. There's just no question about it. I will say that there are a few deciding factors for me that make it even more of a joke than any previous shortened season. One, no fans. That's such a huge advantage to LeBron, because if his playoff and finals records show anything, it's that he does not perform well under the spotlight. If there are people heckling him or people shouting or the pressure of performing in front of people, he does not step up. He's one of the least clutch players of all time, and he loses under the spotlight the most in NBA history. So that's a huge advantage for him. Second, having 4 months off, such a huge advantage for Street Clothes Davis. In all of the seasons previous to the 2020 bubble and after the 2020 bubble, he missed between 20 and 30 games each season. So if people want to say, oh, well, that 4 months off, everybody had it. Well, that's true. Everybody did have it. But that was such a huge advantage for him. I also find it suspect because it's LeBron's second ring in a shortened season. So that's the second time he's benefited from it. And then when he said that it's one of the hardest ever, first of all, he's so soft. He's so entitled that if he says it's hard, it's not. It's just that simple. It's not hard. I remember when they were talking to Steven Adams about playing in the bubble, and he's like, it's not Serbia. It's not hard. I mean, is it different? Yes. Is it hard? No. You're in a 5-star resort. You're basically having every whim met. You're still a millionaire or billionaire getting every single thing that you want. It's just not in the place where you normally get it. And if you're complaining about the food and if you're complaining about the entertainment, go fuck yourself. It's that simple. Just because you don't have the privilege of your personal chef, like LeBron said, you're ridiculous. This is why everybody hates you. First of all, because you just refuse to shut your mouth when every time you open it, you just make yourself sound stupid. But do you know how entitled and out of touch that makes you sound when you say, oh, I didn't have access to my personal chef? Jesus Christ. No one wanted to play. The majority of players didn't want to be there. There was a vote, and a number of teams and players were forced to play. So teams had to put together rosters that were subpar and play in a time when, quite frankly, they didn't want to. A lot of them didn't want to be there. There were a number of players that opted out and flat out said, yeah, I'm not going to play. I don't care. So to say that it's one of the hardest rings ever is just absolutely ridiculous. It just goes to show how out of touch you are with humanity, with reality, and I don't know. I've always found everything that comes out of LeBron's mouth embarrassing, but the fact that he has to turn every even remote challenge that he has had to face into the biggest challenge anyone ever has had to face just makes me respect you less. It would have been far better if you downplayed it. If he had said, yeah, you know what? This season's really hard to take seriously. We're staying in this 5-star resort. We're having every need met. We're not having to travel. We've gotten this huge break. It's really not fair. You can't really compare this championship to anyone else, this championship to any other championship in NBA history. If he had put the asterisk next to it, there absolutely would have been people that came to his defense. But because you are trying to remove the asterisk from it, you look ridiculous. It's kind of like when you came out with that stupid scarf wrapped around your hand. If you had never mentioned that injury and never said anything about it, especially because I think it was fake, but if it happened to be a real injury and you never mentioned it, and then it came out that you played the last 3 games with a broken hand, that would make you look like a competitor. That would make you look like somebody who refuses to quit. It doesn't matter the circumstances. You're going to give it your all, but you used it as an excuse. Oh, this is why we lost because, I've been playing with a broken hand. First of all, your hand wasn't broken. I don't know why you wrapped a scarf around your hand pretending it was a cast. Casts don't bend that bent. It's not real. But that's the problem. You open your mouth and you discredit yourself. There's a philosophy in sales that says under promise, over deliver. So if you're selling somebody something, you tell them it's good, it's not great. And then they buy it and they see that it's great and they're like, oh my God, you absolutely completely downplayed that. It was fantastic. They'll come back to you again and again because you over-delivered. Sometimes selling yourself short is the best thing that you can do. You don't need to hype yourself up. You don't need to make yourself look great. If you do your best and you succeed, and then any shortcomings or challenges or whatever come out afterward, you just look better. But when you bring up those things, when they sound like excuses, when they sound like you're trying to make your life sound harder than it is, that's just so hard to respect. It makes it so difficult. Also, another thing that is damning towards that 2020 chip was when Alex Caruso finally won this year with OKC and said he won a real one. He meant that. He did not believe that his 2020 chip was real. And sure, he may have walked it back afterwards because of whatever backlash. I mean, that just proves that he's a little bitch, but he 100% meant what he said. It's that easy. Nobody respects that ring, even the people that won it. The only people that try to talk it up or say that it's legitimate are LeBron or his fanboys. That's it. Those are the only people that care about that ring. Everybody else thinks it's a joke. And then the fact that he won the finals MVP for that. I mean, I didn't watch that finals, and clearly from the ratings, nobody else did, which is another indictment for that championship, given that everyone was in lockdown, the world was in lockdown, and people found better shit to do than watch the NBA finals. That's just pathetic. I remember that point in the finals, and people were doing anything to try to find ways to entertain themselves. You know, we were all anxious. We were all concerned. The world was in a state of ambiguity where we didn't know what the hell was going to happen. We were looking for anything to distract ourselves. And sports is such a huge distractor. And no one watched because no one cared. I think that says a lot about that ring. I think it says a lot about the people that played in it. No one cared. And why would you? The competition was weak. I don't think people wanted to be there. I do think it's funny that at one point LeBron was flat out saying, I'm not going to play. They can do whatever they want, but I'm not going to play. And then as soon as he realized that it was a huge advantage and that, quite frankly, the NBA was stacking the deck for him to win it, that's when he changed his mind and decided he was going to play. I don't know. I think the entire season is suspect, and quite frankly, after they shut down, they just shouldn't have restarted until the next year when play could resume as normal. And I had a fanboy say in my comments, oh, you know, that ring is completely legitimate and everybody was playing under the same circumstances. Doesn't matter that everybody was playing under the same circumstances. Nobody cares about the circumstances. It doesn't count. People don't respect it. They don't respect it from anyone's points of view. Had the Heat won, who cares? Still has an asterisk next to it. I think LeBron winning it makes it more ridiculous. I think him winning the MVP makes it more ridiculous because he was absolutely not the most valuable player. It should have went to Anthony Davis without question. And anybody who says otherwise is either lying or deluding themselves. Anyway, that's all my thoughts on this. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. As always, I want to give a shout out to the content creators that continue to inspire me with their takes, with their perspective, with their humor. Uncommon Sense, Angry Old Hoops, Self-Researched NBA Facts, 93Z, Sports and Fitness Rants, Uncut Hoops, Scap Attack, Speam Engine, In Your Face Hoops, Eddie TV. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.